Our topic for tonight is vision, the ability to see beyond the obvious. Vision, the ability to see beyond the obvious. If you ask me, I will say that this is perhaps the most important tool for success. Vision, the ability to see beyond the obvious. Obvious. If there's anything that all successful people have in common, it is this ability, vision, the ability to see beyond the obvious. I like talking about it. I think this is about the third time I'm talking about vision. I'm teaching on vision in the last 2 months. So let's get down to work this evening. What is vision? Vision is the ability to see with your mind, okay? The ability to see with what we call your inner eyes. Vision is the ability to see beyond the obvious, okay? Both in people and in situations. Let me say it in another way. Vision is the ability to see beyond a person's current performance to their true potential. If you are going to be successful in life, even in leadership, you've got to be able to see beyond people's current performance to their potential. You've got to be able to see beyond the obvious when it comes to situations and circumstances. Another way to describe vision is the ability to see possibilities. Vision is the ability to see possibilities. To buttress all that I have been saying, let's look at the words of some very wise men who have gone ahead of us. The person I want us to hear from first is Jonathan Swift. Look at what he said. Jonathan Swift said that vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. And quickly, let's consider the words of Dr. Miles Monroe, where he said that I think that the greatest gift God ever gave man is not the gift of sight, but the gift of vision. Sight is a function of the eyes, but vision is a function of the heart. And that's why I say that vision is the ability to see beyond the obvious, the ability to see with your mind, the ability to see with your inner eyes. Now, quickly, let's clarify something. The word vision is capable of so many meanings. As a matter of fact, when people say vision, they mean the ability to see beyond the obvious, like we've been talking about. When people say vision, a lot of times they are also describing what you see with this ability. So the ability is called vision. What you see with the ability is also referred to as vision. Let me add a third one to it. When God reveals anything to a man, people also refer to that as vision. So when we talk about vision, for the purpose of tonight's discussion, please take note, we are talking about the ability to see with your mind. We are not talking about a mental picture of a preferred future. That is also called vision. Okay, so please remember that the ability is called vision, and what you see with the ability is also called vision. But our focus in this teaching is the ability to see with your mind, or the ability to see beyond the obvious. Now let's ask ourselves a question. What is the connection between vision and success? This is what I found out. That success and all that comes with it is the reward for problems solved. Let me say that again. Success and all that comes with it. In other words, maybe it's fame, maybe it's influence, material success, whatever it is, material acquisition, whatever it is, okay, successful relationships, whatever it is that you associate with success, most of the time, they are a reward for problems solved. Now listen to this. Your ability to solve problems is determined by the quality of your vision. Your ability to solve problems is determined by the quality of your vision. What am I saying? Your ability to see beyond the obvious is what determines your ability to create products or to offer services, the ability to serve people so excellently that they reward you with money. Success is a reward for problems solved, and your ability to solve problems is determined by the quality of your vision. Let me build my case this evening. Vision is so important. Look at the following statements I'm about to make. Vision inspires courage. Now, you know, courage is necessary for success in life. Vision inspires courage. Vision facilitates tenacity and endurance. Vision inspires creativity and innovation. Vision sustains passion. Vision makes it easy for people to follow you. Vision makes it easy for people to lead you. Vision nourishes relationships. Okay, it makes it easier for people to do life to generally do life with you. Vision is what makes it makes it easy for people to reason with you, to show you a different perspective, to share ideas with you. It is because of this your ability to see with your mind. What are we talking about? We're talking about the importance of vision and the connection between vision and success. I've told you that success is a reward for problems solved, and then the quality of problems you solved, or how much you can solve problems or create products or offer services, is tied to the quality of your vision. For the benefit of those who are taking notes, let me run over all these values that that I mentioned to you just again. I said vision inspires courage. I said vision facilitates tenacity and endurance. Vision inspires creativity and innovation. Vision sustains passion. Vision makes it easy for people to follow you. If you are going to be successful in leadership, you've got to be a visionary. It's easy for people to follow you when you have vision. But then the other way around, it is also easy for people to lead you when you have good vision, quality vision. Okay, because when they are trying to explain something to you, you get it. The leader is trying to cast his own vision, you get it, because you have the ability to see beyond the obvious. And I told you that vision nourishes relationships. That your ability to see beyond the obvious makes it easy for people to generally do life with you. Of all these qualities, all these values that I have described, allow me to focus on one of them, okay? Vision facilitates tenacity and endurance. Vision facilitates tenacity and endurance. And if you are going to be successful, these are qualities you must possess: tenacity and endurance. Allow me to share with you this evening the story of Florence Chadwick. Okay, Florence Chadwick, I have jotted out a few words that I'm just going to read to you because I don't want to miss anything. The story of Florence Chadwick. Okay, she was an American swimmer known for long distance open water swimming. She was the first woman to swim the English Channel in both directions, setting a time record each time. She was also the first woman to swim the Catalonia Channel, the Straits of Gibraltar, the Bosporus one way, and the Dardanelles round trip. Now listen to this. In 1952, Florence attempted to swim the 26 miles between Catalonia Island and the California coastline. As she began, she was flanked by two small boats that watched for sharks and were prepared to help her if she got hurt or grew tired. After about 15 hours, now listen, after about 15 hours, a thick fog set in. Florence began to doubt her ability, and she told her mother, who was in one of the boats, that she did not think she could make it. She swam for another hour before asking to be pulled out, unable to see the coastline due to the fog. As she sat in the boat, she found out she had stopped swimming just 1 mile away from her destination. In other words, this person was to swim for 26 miles. She had covered 25 miles already, and it was at that point that she gave up. Okay? Now, 2 months later, she tried again. The same thick fog set in, but she succeeded in reaching Catalonia. She said that she kept a mental image of the shoreline in her mind while she swam. She later swam the Catalonia Channel on 2 additional occasions. This, for me, is a very instructive story about the power of vision and how it facilitates endurance and tenacity. Okay, Florence Chadwick was to swim for 26 miles. Okay, after swimming for 15 hours, she was, of course, very exhausted, and then she gave up. And it was because she could not see the shoreline. There was a thick fog. When she was going to try again, now listen, the thick fog was still there. But this time around, she said she was able to do it. She said because she maintained a mental image of the shoreline. See, it's not about what you see with your physical eyes. What she said, or what she was saying essentially, is what she was looking at with her inner eyes was what gave her the tenacity and the endurance, okay, to finish what she started. And that's the big idea I came to share with you this evening. If you develop your vision, you will grow in tenacity. You will be able to endure. You will be able to do whatever your dream requires until it comes to pass. What am I saying? When you develop the ability to see beyond the obvious, you will hardly quit. Okay? You will hardly quit. Now, the quality of your vision determines the ability to produce results, your ability to create products and services. Okay? A couple of weeks back, I think 2 weeks ago and last week, I told you the quality of your vision determines the level of your excellence. Okay? This is what it means. What you can see determines what you are willing to do to achieve your dream. Okay? What you can see is what determines what you are willing to do to achieve your dream. So people who have a sharp vision, they tend to be excellent, they tend to be resilient, they tend to be tenacious, they tend to be courageous, because these are all values or qualities that vision inspires. Now at this point, somebody is wondering, is vision a gift or an ability? Okay, is vision a gift or an ability? The good news I brought to you tonight is the fact that even though some people are gifted with a strong imagination, vision is an ability that everybody can cultivate. Let me say that again. Even though some people are born with a very strong sense of imagination or very strong imagination, vision, the ability to see with your mind, is an ability. It is a skill that can be acquired, that can be cultivated by everybody. Vision is a skill that can be cultivated by everybody. So this is what I am saying. Let's assume that somebody is naturally gifted with a very vivid imagination, with a very creative mind. Let's assume the person is on level 8. Okay, because this person is gifted. If you are born with a level 4, you can actually develop yourself to hit a level 6 or a level 7. The gifted person may be one step ahead, but everybody, as a matter of fact, just by exposing yourself to the gifted person, just by being around the gifted person, you can develop that same ability up to just a step below the person that is gifted with a very sharp imagination. And that's what I came to do this evening, to show you how to develop your vision. What is vision? The ability to see with your mind, the ability to see beyond the obvious. Maybe before I talk about how to develop it, let me explain a little bit further, because I want us to understand the gravity of what I'm talking about. If you're working with somebody, the degree to which you are valuable to that person is the degree to which you can see what the person is seeing. You can see beyond what the person is seeing. You can see what the person is not seeing, so that you can help the person even take care of their blind spots. And then you can contribute strategy to that person's vision. So the degree to which you are valuable to either your boss, valuable to either your clients or your customers, is the degree to which you can see with your mind. And like I said just before now, the good news is that this ability is an ability everybody can develop. So let's look at how to develop vision this evening. The first thing I'm going to talk about is exposure and observation. Exposure and observation. If you're going to develop vision, you have to what? You have to expose yourself. You have to make observation a habit. What am I saying? Place yourself intentionally and consistently in excellent environments and in the company of exceptional people. If you want to develop your vision, place yourself intentionally and consistently in excellent environments and in the company of exceptional people. While you are there, learn as much as you can. Okay? Let me say this. Seeing is believing. This is what I mean. Whatever you have seen before, your mind will not struggle to believe is possible. Whatever it is that you have seen before, your mind will find it easy to reproduce. So if you want to think exceptional thoughts, expose yourself to the thoughts of exceptional people, place yourself in exceptional environments so that your mind can soak up that environment. Okay, the more you see it, the more possible it becomes to you. The more you see it, the more possible it becomes to you. I'm reminded of the story of a young man. He was running a business and he was in debt. Okay, I can't remember the specific figures now, but let's assume he was owing, say, about 10 million. And then he went to his mentor and he discussed with his mentor. He was looking for solution and he was overwhelmed with his debt. He didn't know how to go about it and all that. And his mentor said to him, okay, you know what? I'm going to do you a favor. I have a meeting. I want you to come along with me to the meeting. So the mentor took him to a meeting with some businessmen. It was just a casual gathering and they were all just talking and gisting. And then they started talking about how much money they were owing. And then one person said, I'm owing about maybe 70 million. Another person said maybe 250 million. But it was a non-issue. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And then I will do. And they were sharing ideas on how they deal, okay, with debt. Okay. And then at the end of the meeting, the mentor and this protege, were talking. And the mentor said, so, what about that, your problem? And the guy said, no, I don't have a problem anymore. See, his 10 million naira debt shrunk in size when he was exposed to the thought patterns of people that were dealing with bigger debt. Yorubas have a proverb. They say that it is the person who has not been to another person's father's farm that will say that his father's farm is the biggest. The reason why you think a problem is big is because you have not been exposed to bigger problems. The reason why you think you are on top of your game at times is because you have not been exposed to people who are doing much more than you are doing. So if you want to stretch your mind, if you want to stretch your ability to see beyond the obvious, put yourself consistently, do it intentionally, put yourself in excellent environments, put yourself in the company of people that are exceptional, that are doing massive things, okay? Sometimes as in your company, there's a go-to guy. The boss is always picking his brain. The boss is always talking about him. Don't beef. Take him out to lunch. Ask him questions. Expose yourself to such people. And let me say this to you. When you are around people that are doing massive things, that have achieved much more than you have achieved, don't try to impress them with your knowledge. If they don't know what you know, they will not be more successful than you are. But there is something they know that you probably do not know. So what should you do? Ask them questions. Now it's amazing how that successful people are more impressed with questions than with somebody trying to impress them with their knowledge. Even though young people a lot of times think that the best way to impress people that have gone ahead of you is to share information, to share knowledge, to tell them what you know, to display your skill. No. Let me give an example. If a young footballer of say 20 or 21 meets with Ronaldo, it is futile for you to be trying to show him your skills. The reason why he's greatest of all time is because there are skills he possesses that you don't have. Now, this is what I found out. When you keep quiet and you ask questions, it's amazing how that you are actually presumed to be intelligent. People are impressed with you when you ask questions. And this another thing I've discovered about successful people, they love to share. If you are humble enough to learn, they love to share. So the moment you are full of questions, they are impressed with you and they will share trade secrets with you. But that's not the end. As you ask questions, make sure that you make observation, distill valuable lessons from what they are saying, from what you find in the environment. Go back home, document those principles, and then find a way to practice them immediately. Don't just expose yourself, observe, okay? Extract principles from what you see in the exposure when you go for conferences, when you go for training programs, when you have time with your mentors and role models. Ask questions, distill valuable lessons, go back home, document those lessons, and then find a way to practice them immediately. Okay? I learned this principle actually from scripture. Let me show it to you from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 24, verse 30 to verse 34. Very interesting read. It says, I went past the field of the sluggard, past the vineyard of someone who has no sense. Thorns had come up everywhere. The ground was covered with weeds, and the stone wall was in ruins. I applied my heart to what I observed and learned a lesson from what I saw. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. What caught my attention actually is in verse 32, where it says, I applied my heart to what I observed and learned a lesson from what I saw. You have to apply your heart. You have to sit down with what you are exposed to and extract valuable lessons. Let me give a personal example. So many years ago, I think this was in the year 2003, if I'm not mistaken. We were organizing a conference. I had just left the law school. But I went back to the university to organize this conference, and I was inviting, powerful speakers. One of those speakers was Dr. Sam Adeyemi. And so I went to his office to invite him. Now listen, the event was going to hold in June. I went to his office in March to invite him. I went with a letter. Okay, and before I got there, I had gotten my pastor, who happened to be his brother, to give him a call to say I was coming. Okay, so he was expecting me. But when I got to his office, I met with his PA. The PA was very hospitable, welcomed me, and then he collected the letter from me, read through the letter, and he said, I am not sure he will be able to attend your program. I said, why? He said, every invitation he is honoring this year came in by latest October last year. So I said, okay. And then he said, but sit down, he would like to see you. So I sat down. And when I sat down there, I started thinking, you mean planning for a program in June and speaking to a guest speaker in March is not industry standard? That there are people who are inviting someone to speak 1 year ahead. So I sat down there in the office and I took note that in the future, when you are going to organize an event, the best way to do it is to plan it 1 year ahead, because important speakers, their calendars are full. You can't be talking to them 4 months or 5 months to your date. So that was an example of applying my heart to something I was exposed to. Up until that time, as a student speaker, 2 weeks notice was our standard. If anybody was asking you to come speak, 2 weeks. Okay. So many years afterwards, I was going to invite a speaker and something similar happened. And the person said, oh, I'm so sorry. All my invitations came in about 6 months ago. And I understood what the person was saying. Hey, no problem, no harm. I mean, but I said to myself, and since that time, that has been my practice. 1 year ahead. You plan 1 year ahead. Okay. For example, I'm holding a conference in the month of July. As I speak, I already have the confirmation of the guest speaker, because of the principle I learned from what I was exposed to. So it's not enough for you to expose yourself. You have to observe. You have to distill valuable principles, document them, and then find an opportunity to practice them immediately. Let me give you another example. Everybody that knows me knows I love John Maxwell. There's hardly anything he's written that I've not read. So many years ago, I was reading in a book by John Maxwell. I can't even remember which particular one. And this is a story he shares a lot about how he developed his filing system. How that when he's reading in a magazine, reading in a newspaper, reading in a book, and he stumbles on a quote, okay, that is very, very interesting, he will cut it out or copy it out. And then he spoke about how he had different files, okay, according to topics, that he keeps those quotes. So when he's working on a presentation, writing a book, he will go to the file and he would go and extract the quotes, the stories and all of that he had filed away. When I stumbled on that principle, I said to myself, I need to practice this. So I started practicing it since 2009. There is no presentation, there is no teaching that I have done from 2009 till date that is not filed away according to topic on my system. So he was using physical files. By 2009, I was already using a computer. So I extracted that principle. I contextualized it. Okay. If you ask me to speak on any subject right now, I have a folder on it with quotes, stories, illustrations, Bible verses, and then I have every teaching I have given according to topic filed away in my system. Why? I was exposed to that principle by somebody who's gone ahead of me and successful. I distilled it, contextualized it, found a way to practice it in my life immediately. If you ask me, there are other two things I'm going to discuss with you, but this for me is the most important: exposure and observation. If you're going to develop your ability to see beyond the obvious, develop your thinking skills, you have to focus on exposure. Okay, there's somebody doing something bigger, there's somebody doing something better, there is somebody who is already living your dreams. When you expose yourself to them, you will learn how they think. If you can think the way they think, you can produce whatever they have produced. The second step I'm going to ask you to take, number 2, how to develop your vision, is reading. Okay, reading. This is important. See, the process of turning words into pictures improves your analytical skills. You know, we don't see words actually, we see pictures. When you are reading in a book, for example, you are reading in the book and the book says, early in the morning, okay, it was drizzling and the birds couldn't fly. When you read that in a book, you are not seeing those words. Your mind transforms those words into pictures, mental pictures. So when you make a habit of reading, what you are actually doing is sharpening your imagination and your analytical skills. It has been discovered that people who read tend to be more focused. People who read tend to be better at seeing patterns. Okay, so if you want to develop your ability to imagine, your ability to see patterns, your ability to solve problems with your mind, make a habit of reading. I saw something in Ink Africa. Let me read it to you. It says, reading strengthens your ability to imagine alternative paths, to remember details, to picture detailed scenes, and to think through complex problems. If you want to develop vision, make a habit of reading. It's very painful how that so many people, the moment they graduate from the university, they hardly read one book in a year. Whereas the average successful person will do roughly about 12 books every year, minimum 12 books every year. Make that your goal. I mean, it's not too late to add that to your goals for 2023. One book every month. You are not only reading for information, you are reading to develop vision. What is vision? The ability to see beyond the obvious. By the way, let me say this to you. Traveling is not a luxury. Traveling is an investment. Once you financially can afford to travel around the world, it is an investment. Okay? Once you change where you stand, you will change what you see. Let me say that again. Once you change where you stand, you will change what you see. But if you cannot afford to travel, either because of finances or because of your job or the state of life you are in, Another way, the next best thing to traveling is reading. There's no country in the world you will not go by reading. There is no wise person you cannot sit down with by reading. As a matter of fact, when you want to build valuable relationships with exceptional people, you may not start with relating with them physically. You will start by engaging with their books, with their videos. You can see the world through reading. Don't forget, you don't only read to acquire information, to increase knowledge. You read actually to develop your imagination, to develop your ability to see patterns, to develop your ability to think through complex problems. And finally, this evening, you want to develop your ability to see beyond the obvious. The third thing I'm going to ask you to do is what? Practice. Okay? Practice. So there are three things I'm talking about this evening: exposure and observation, reading, and then the third one is practice. Let me say this to you. Your mind is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Your mind is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. So this is my advice. Don't wait for real problems before you start exercising your imagination. Okay? Train your mind with a lot of hypotheses. Embrace responsibilities that will make you think. Okay, in your office, they want to solve a problem, engage. Something happened so many years ago. My pastor invited me to a meeting. I was not the only one. A couple of us were in the meeting. And then before the meeting started, okay, he whispered something to me. He said, I want you to observe that particular person throughout the meeting. And we were in the meeting and everybody was just talking and all of that, deliberating, preferring solutions and all that. At the end of the meeting, my pastor now called me aside. He said, did you observe that guy? I said, yes. He said, did you observe that he made no contribution throughout the meeting? I said, yes. He said to me, I'm going to fire him. He is useless to us. You see, a lot of people sometimes allow themselves to be overwhelmed because they think they are in the midst of smart people, of intelligent people. And what you do is you refuse to engage your mind. I'm not saying start by talking. You don't have to say anything. Hey, by the way, if you have not yet processed it, don't say anything. One of the ways you can jeopardize your chances of promotion in an organization is for you to talk before thinking. But you see, the moment something is being discussed, don't check out. Engage your mind. They are trying to solve a problem. Engage your mind. It's amazing how that after all the intelligent people, the bosses have spoken, if there is no valuable solution yet, offer your suggestion. But the moment conversation starts, engage your mind. Allow your mind to sweat. Okay? Tell yourself, I am practicing. I am practicing. Listen, as anybody rises in any organization, the closer you get to the top, the more you have to use your mind more than any other thing. Okay? The top is for thinkers. The more you are promoted, the less of your hands you will use, the more of your mind you have to use. So when you are still low, okay, on the ladder of success, engage your mind. Practice. 3 skills I've introduced you to, or 3 practices I've introduced you to this evening, or perhaps I've reminded you of this evening. Exposure and practice, reading and then practice. Or exposure and observation, then practice. So in exposure and observation, you will see principles come to life. If I want to rearrange the 3 principles, I will say reading first. You will stumble on principles, you will stumble on stories, you will travel the world by reading. Then when you start observing those who are better than you, who are more successful, who have gone ahead of you, these principles will come to life. So you gain understanding. Then when you start practicing these principles, that is when you truly master them. Allow me to round up this evening's session by reading to you the words of John Scully. He said, the future belongs to those who see possibilities before they become obvious. The future belongs to those who see possibilities before they become obvious. That's the reason why if what you are thinking is what everybody is thinking, you are at a disadvantage. Those who own the future, those who run the future, those who are masters in the future are the ones who are seeing the future today. While everybody is looking at today, they are looking at the future. Nelson Searcy in their book, Nelson Searcy and Kerrick Thomas in their book Ignite, they said that ordinary leaders focus on what happens next. Extraordinary leaders focus on what happens after what happens next. We all remember the story of Zacchaeus in the Bible. Zacchaeus was a short man and he wanted to see Jesus. Instead of struggling with the crowd to see Jesus, he found out what direction Jesus was going to. He ran in that direction, climbed on a tree, perched, and then waited for Jesus to come to that spot. What did he do? He leveraged vision. Okay? He leveraged vision. What's the big idea we have shared tonight? That vision is directly connected to success, because success is a reward for problems solved. Your ability to solve problems is tied to the quality of your vision. And we said that some people are born with a very sharp imagination, but vision is a skill that everybody can develop. And if you're going to develop your vision, I have told you to do what? Focus on observation and exposure and observation, reading, and then practice. Once you stumble on a principle, don't let it go. Practice it. It will transform your mind. It will transform your thinking. That's how we're rounding up today's session.